Thanks for subscribing and listening to the Clive Barker Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the imagination of Clive Barker. In this episode 207, well, my voice got weird there. In this episode 217, Rob and Marcus join Jose and Ryan to break down the Candyman, Hellraiser, and Nightbreed news, plus new stuff from friends of the show Barbie, Wilde, and Nicholas Vince. Then we kick off the Duels of Blood Volume 4 tournament. Get out there and vote. All right, welcome. This is episode 217 of the Clive Barker Podcast, and it's a news episode, and I'm Ryan.
I'm Joe.
This is Rob.
And I'm Marcus.
Hey, so good to see you, or, well, hear you guys again.
Good to hear you guys, too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So starting out, there was a fan art show on the 23rd of February. And I think, so that's come and gone, and it included some fan artwork of inspired by Clive Barker's stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
I saw that as well, and I tried to get more information on it, and I couldn't find anything.
Mm. And Rob, I think you had found some of the
pieces. Found a couple of the art pieces, and I'll send them to you. You can add them to the show notes. The picture of Candyman.
Oh.
And some interesting piece with Dr. Decker's mask. It's like a 3D dimensional.
Oh.
Like they put the button face on a. What is it? Help me out here, Marcus. You're the painter. You put the mask
on a canvas.
Yeah, canvas. They put it on canvas.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it just came to my mind that the material in Decker's mask does look like a canvas. So, yeah, that's cool.
So it kind of is sticking out, from the canvas. It's really cool.
That sounds like that demon piece that Clive made.
For the cover of Fangoria. Yeah, it's always nice when you see some mixed media like that.
Yes.
It's always very original and yeah. So we'll add that to the show notes. This was a place in San Diego. It was called the Subterranean Coffee Boutique, and they were celebrating Clive Barker, David Lynch, and David Cronenberg. So if you happen to go there, or if you happen to have been there and had any pictures, send them over to us or comment your pictures on the post.
Yes, please.
I would love
to see it.
Yeah.
We both said the same thing. That's cool.
And Barbie Wilde, who is a friend of the show, and we've talked to her several times, she has a new short story called Patient K that you can buy individually on Amazon as a little ebook.
That is so cool. Yeah, so it's under the publishing label Short Sharp Shocks. That's kind of like a tongue teaser. The synopsis for the story that Rob wrote in the article is, after a childhood accident in which she loses her left eye, Clara Alexander visits her new ocularist, Dr. Markham, to have a replacement ocular prosthesis fitted. Unfortunately, the good doctor is a sexual pervert, and he takes advantage of her while she's under sedation. Oh, my God. Too shocked to report the attack, Clara goes home and tries to recover. There she notices a scary phenomena occurring in her new prosthetics. A tiny, glittering golden entity appears in what previously was the dark void of her left eye socket. The frantic little figure is waving to her, sending her signs and messages, advising her how to take her revenge. And boy, does she.
Whoa.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be nasty coming from Barbie because Barbie's really nasty like that.
Yeah.
If you've read The Venus Complex or Damned.
Or the short story book that she wrote.
Voices of the Damned.
Yeah, Voices of the Damned. You wrote here in the article about Polyp, the story that she included. Yeah. And this one, it's like, oh, my God. So she has an empty eye socket, and she goes to a doctor who takes advantage of her. Mental image there. Thank you very much, Barbie.
Yeah.
And it's 99 cents to buy it, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's $0.
All right. Looks like I'm spending $1 tonight.
Yeah,
me too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's come out It came out on March 1st, so that was yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So now it's out. That's what happens, I guess, when we do news episodes every 2 weeks sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no longer a pre-order. Now it's just an order.
Yeah, and I guess I'll have to buy it and make a review of it. So hopefully I'll be able to do that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And Jason Blum talked about the future of Hellraiser, what they would like to see with more Hellraiser films. And Rob, I think you did that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did
he just basically talked about how it was, that he was nothing's really going on with either. He's wanting to do the revive the Scream franchise as well, and neither property's going anywhere right now, but he's definitely interested in making a new movie. So I think that's some good news, but there are a lot of people that want to just maybe it's best to let this series die. I was read a lot of comments from the fans on the forums. I'd like to see a new movie.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a purist and say, well, it's not Doug Bradley. I don't want to see anymore. Well, if it's going to be something original within the Hellraiser universe, and if they even get any sort of feedback from Clive, which would be the right thing to do, I would still be willing to see more Hellraiser stories. I mean, I'm not going to say, I'm done with Hellraiser. I was kind of done with Hellraiser, like the movie franchise, but I'm always open to new explorations of the world of the Cenobites and, the Faustian tales of deals gone wrong with the Lament configuration, or even just expand on that and show us a little more of how hell is like. I would love to see that. That never really crystallized in any of the movies.
I think that the 2 volumes of the Hellraiser anthology that Seraph Mink did goes to show that there are still many more Hellraiser stories to tell. It's just the movies as they progressed just kind of were regurgitated things of just reworking scripts that weren't Hellraiser scripts and then fashioning them with the same old. So I feel like the series hasn't
taken a fresh direction in a long time.
Yeah, it just hasn't had the chance to actually be a Hellraiser franchise again. Not since, in my opinion, the first 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've said many times on this podcast, during all this Hellraiser talk of just I've always thought that Blumhouse was a good route to go, just because I didn't mind the model that they chose for Halloween and such.
Yeah.
And in the fact that Candyman is kind of going the same way, I wouldn't mind if Hellraiser also went that not quite remake, not quite reboot, just like kind of the quasi thing in the middle, but to be fresh again.
I completely agree. So this interview with Jason Blum was put on Cinema Blend. So that's where we first heard about it. And if you go on our blog, you'll be able to get a link to that and read the interview yourself.
Well, and so are they still on this 5-year cycle of if they don't make a movie in 5 years, then the rights revert back to somebody?
I mean, is the Weinstein Company even afloat at this point? I remember back a couple of years.
Whoever has the rights now, I mean, I don't know. Does the Weinstein Company still own Hellraiser, or is it somebody else?
No,
I don't think they really exist anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Dimension Films, they don't exist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sold off all their properties, I thought. Like they were liquidating everything.
So it's been one of those things where I have no idea what's going on with the rights for Hellraiser, and until we figure out, that's probably one of the things that's keeping back any new movies, I guess. So hopefully, it seems like Jason Blum has been talking about it with someone, and so hopefully they'll be able to secure something in the future.
Yeah, because Scream and Hellraiser were both Dimensions, so the fact that he's mentioning both of those, I think, is to show that he either acquired them or he knows who acquired them. I don't think that's just something that he would throw out just nilly to.
Yeah, and it's, I think, safe to say at this point that there's not going to be that remake that people thought Clive was going to be involved. I don't think that's not going to happen anymore.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
So we'll see what Blumhouse does. I mean, like you said in your article, Rob, this is something that could be brought back like Halloween with Carpenter. So that would be great if they could find a way to make it happen. I would be all for it. I mean, I'm open to this if it's going to be put in the hands of someone who's going to do a good job, and not just say let's just throw $200,000 and make another little sequel that's just going to be contractually we're contractually obligated to make just to keep the rights. So now that finally Weinstein has fallen, let's see what happens.
Now it's kind of they got to start putting somebody's got to start putting some money into it to revitalize. It's time.
Well, I mean, like the Blumhouse model though is that the budgets are low. And
I'm talking more than $200,000.
No. I completely agree. I just mean that they're low enough that the creators, whoever they hire, have the creative freedom to do whatever they want, and that's what makes them so wonderful. Like Lee Winnell being hired to write and direct the Invisible Man remake, like that. I love that idea because it's so different, so fresh, and it doesn't have to be a $200 million Tom Cruise The Mummy movie. And so, no, I agree. Like, don't just give it pennies, but also don't have such a high budget that you're sacrificing creativity.
Yeah. Candyman 2, it's been out on Blu-ray in North America for years now, and with the Shout Factory release. But now it looks like it's going to be coming to Region 2, Region B, right? The European countries.
Yeah. Through the UK label 88 Films. They're releasing it's pretty much, I've got the Candyman Blu-ray, and it's pretty much the same release as far as the features and all that.
Is it the same package as the Arrow package?
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing that's new is some limited edition. There's a limited edition O-card slipcase for the first print run only, and there's a limited edition collector's booklet by film journalists Dave Wan and Maddie, but I can't pronounce this guy's last name.
Buttervix.
Yeah, Butterworks.
Yeah,
and that's only on the first print run only. So
I've always been entertained by this idea that it's got a new slipcase and it's so collectible. It's like I've never really put that much stock into slipcases making a release, but that's just me. That's my own preference. But that's cool. I mean, more of Clive Barker movies being made available in other countries is always a good thing, because God knows, so many people complain about, well, I want to watch this movie, but we never got it released in my country. I know that because I've lived in Portugal most of my life, and then I was always struggling to be able to find copies of certain Hellraiser movies or even Nightbreed. Nightbreed was never released in my country except as a rental. They never had direct sales for it, so it never came out as a DVD. So I was always very disappointed that my only DVD was a Region 1, which for some time I couldn't even watch on my DVD player. And, of course, now that's changed, and hopefully it'll change more in the future for other releases like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of more Candyman news, the Candyman Blu-ray was nominated for some awards. But are we talking about the Arrow one or the Shout
Factory?
It's the Scream Factory one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have that one, but I haven't taken the plastic off of it yet.
Oh, it's wonderful. I think I was actually kind of ashamed or kind of upset that it wasn't nominated for transfer, because I think the restoration on that is gorgeous. I put it in, and I thought that was one of the best transfers that I've seen.
Wow.
I'd like to compare the two, because I have the Arrow one, and I've not. The Arrow's restoration I thought was very good as well. So I can't comment on the Scream Factories, but I'm sure they did a bang up job, because they always do a great job on their transfers.
So what was it nominated for, Marcus?
Let me see here. It was nominated for Best Commentary with Kim Newman and Stephen Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Best Package of DVD Extras, and the other one is All right, I can't find the other one actually. Maybe it was just the two.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. And so, of course, Stephen Jones in that commentary track is the same one who used to be the film publicist for some Hellraiser movies, the Nightbreed film, and he also edited Shadows in Eden, the book, and the 2 photo books for Hellraiser Chronicles and Nightbreed Chronicles. So it's always a pleasure to see him come back and revisit Clive Barker projects and give his insights, because he was there at the sets when they were doing those things.
Yeah, and the back to the Candyman remake, spiritual sequel, whatever they're calling it. Tony Todd is not going to be in it. I thought that was kind of, I don't know. I was excited for this movie, but now hearing this news, I feel less excited because, not just because Tony Todd is great, because he is, but also because if you're putting in a different actor, that makes it seem more like a remake and less like a sequel. I
expected this. And I just want to say, in my interpretation, is that they just announced that Candyman they just announced the casting of Candyman. It's going to be actor Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who starred in the DC comic adaptation of Aquaman. Mm-hmm. He is in talks to become the new Candyman. But I don't know if they won't be able to put Tony Todd in there in a cameo, because that has been like put up in the ether every once in a while. It's like, yeah, I would do a cameo if they wanted me to. I think Tony Todd said that on Twitter at one point. Yeah. So I'm not sure if he's not going to be in the movie. He's definitely not going to play Candyman, though. That's true. Yeah.
If he's not playing Candyman, then it's a remake.
Well, you could argue, though, simply because it is Candyman, that it's this idea of this urban legend that doesn't quite have a static face or whatever. It's almost this malleable thing of, right, because urban legend, like, stories are reinvented and reinterpreted per generation, right? So you could argue that it's still a sequel, but this is their version of the story of Candyman or something.
Yeah, but they in the movies they had put a lot more stock into his backstory than than the Forbidden did.
So I don't know if that's going to be part of this new movie. I guess we'll find out. Yeah. But definitely they're going to follow the same path of making Candyman be played by a black actor, which is fine. It's what people know about Candyman, is that he's a black guy with a hook, right? He's like the spirit that appears when you say his name 5 times. So, of course, if they had recast that as a different ethnicity, people would be like, hey, that's not Candyman. So I understand why they recast him. And, like you said, Ryan, this is a remake. And I think it was always going to be a remake, to be honest, because they did say they're going to go back to Chicago, and they were going to go back to a kind of a pre-thing from Cabrini Green, like a prequel or something. So let's see what happens here. I have full confidence in Jordan Peele. Yeah, I think he's a very talented writer and director, and I have full confidence that this movie will be very entertaining. And I actually am happy to see that this is progressing, that we're getting updates on the production, and that we're getting names of actors that are being cast to it.
Yeah. Well, I think I haven't seen Get Out still, so I'm.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that's being overlooked that's really cool is that it's actually a woman who's directing it this time. I think the fact that we're going to be looking at it through the female gaze, if you will.
Nia DaCosta.
Yeah, it's something. It's very unique and very fresh, and I'm really looking forward to that. Just because, having taken a lot of cinema classes over the years and loving film, just that directing is a very male dominated field. And so the fact that it's opening up is really wonderful.
It is. We've seen award ceremonies where people have started making pledges that they would, be more inclusive and more representational in the productions of their movies, and that's a good step forward, I think. And Jordan Peele co-wrote the script with Vin Rosenfield. And so that script is completed. We announced that as well some time ago, that they said, the Candyman script is done. So, of course, Jordan Peele is now working also in the new Twilight Zone that's going to come out on CBS All Access. And that's going to be cool, even though I was a little disappointed that it seems like, there seemed to be some scenes in the new trailer for the Twilight Zone that seem to be revisiting or remaking that episode of, Terror at 10,000 Feet again. So it's like, we really don't need that to be remade again. It's already been remade. And, but we'll see what happens. They might have a fresh take on it. So
well, they also had a lot of like little allusions to past episodes too in the trailer. Yeah,
they did. Yeah. So at the same time, I hope they bring a fresh take, and I hope they bring fresh stories to that Twilight Zone thing. But so this is going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to the other movie that Jordan Peele is putting out called Us. I'm really looking forward to seeing that this month, I believe.
This month.
Yeah, that's the example of a good trailer. It doesn't give the movie away. It kind of reels you in. It kind of makes you want to see the movie. It's not like certain trailers that are put out where you watch the movie and they're like, okay, I guess I know what's going to happen in the story now because they showed us all the beats in the trailer.
Yeah, which it seems a lot of studios have been putting out lately, especially with bigger budgeted tentpole films. It seems like you watch the trailer and you're like, oh, okay, I watched an abridged version of the movie. I don't really have to see this right away now.
Yeah.
And then you have teaser trailers that are just don't show you anything of the movie. Like the teaser trailer for Alien, right?
Example. Also, living in California takes place in Santa Cruz, which I go to a lot. So seeing that, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Now, so. Yeah,
I've been there too. It's really beautiful going on the boardwalk, and it's Santa Cruz is a great place.
Yeah.
MGM plans on releasing the Candyman film. They already have a date. It's June 12, 2020. So we have a date.
And Tony Todd was graceful about it in a tweet. He said, "Cheers to Candyman, a wonderful character I've lived with for 25 years. He's brought grace and glory and a beautiful boatload of friends and family. Team Toddsters in honor. I'm honored that the spirit of Daniel Robitaille, Cabrini Green rises again. Truth to power. Blessings to the cast and crew."
Yeah, and to touch upon that, John Squires on Twitter also pointed out that in an EW interview, Tony Todd also said, quote, "I think the subject matter is more important than any individuals, and I mean that." So, yeah.
Well, of course, I'll still watch it. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, actually. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I have faith.
One thing I hope they do keep about the remake is I hope they at least keep, the Philip Glass themes in some capacity.
Me too.
We'll see, though.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember that Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
Yeah, didn't they keep the themes of the original Nightmare on Elm Street in that,
I can't remember. I mean, that's the whole thing with that movie. It's like, I can't remember anything about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing about remakes. Sometimes you see them and then it's like it's done, and it's like a couple of months later you almost forgot the movie. Yeah. That happened to me definitely with the remake for Friday the 13th, because it was just such a generic remake. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just
It was a rehash of all the movies put into one. It was
Yeah. So you never know, but hopefully this could spark what hasn't been sparked before with remakes, except for maybe Halloween 1 and 2 by Rob Zombie that did get a sequel. None of the other remakes ever had a sequel after that. After they brought in the new Friday the 13th, they didn't make any more movies after that.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street remake never had any more movies before that. And it's been years and years since those movies came out. So hopefully this one would be like a Candyman revisitation, reimagining, whatever, that could continue to make more stories. That would be very cool.
But Rob, I'm completely with you. For it to be Candyman, it has to have Philip Glass music. That's
such a driving force of that character.
It is just like Christopher Young's score for Hellraiser. It's just it's not the same without it.
Yeah.
I want to give you guys a recommendation. I was listening to this last night. The soundtrack for the movie The Nun It's really cool. I was listening to it on Spotify.
Oh, really?
yesterday.
Yeah, I saw the film, and I don't have very kind things to say.
I never saw the movie. I just
No,
listened to the soundtrack.
I would just stay. I hate being mean to movies, but I would just say stick to the soundtrack.
Sure. It's by Abel Korzanovsky. So check out that Nun soundtrack. I thought it was cool.
Okay.
All right. And then there was a review of Lussier's and Farmer's Hellraiser treatments. Was that Mr. X or Mr. H again, Rob?
That was a bloody disgusting columnist, Brad Miska.
Oh, okay.
I guess he must have gotten them from Todd Farmer or Patrick Lussier to review those, because I've always been curious about what those were about, and that was what I read about, the two. I mean, the first one sounded a more appealing to me as a Hellraiser fan. It seemed to add some new things to the franchise. And
was the Patrick Lussier, was that the Project Angel one with the bloody pinhead?
No. That was something that Gary Tunnicliffe. Yeah.
Oh,
that was just a pitch that he did to see if anybody would pick that up and hire him to go back to the Hellraiser series, I think.
All that was happening at the same time around like 2006.
Yeah, I just got some things to say about this review. It would show us some directions where the story was going to go. And there's one concept that I think is cool, which was they would introduce the Toy Breakers, right, Rob? They were a secret group of individuals who would destroy gateways to hell. So they're kind of like the Harrowers in a way.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. I mean, in the Boom comics, Kirsty went around hitting puzzle boxes with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. And then there's a kind of a goofy concept too. In this review, they said that they would be a group of new Cenobites. It would be called the Lowbites. In a hospital scene. Yeah.
But I don't know how to put it in context, because obviously I didn't read I'm just basing it off this guy's reviews.
Yeah.
So
they sounded.
So what are Lowbites? Are they like? Are they just
I don't know. You didn't
they
really
don't
get
say
slaves
about
or foot soldiers?
You
Yeah,
don't really. Yeah.
maybe.
It was a hospital scene, right?
Yeah.
Well, who knows? I mean, maybe this will eventually fall on the internet and we can review it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So one thing I really liked about both of these treatments, though, is that both of them end with the woman named Lisa becoming the new Pinhead. That she takes on that new the new mantle of Pinhead.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, always what Clive wanted was kind of a female, hell
Monster.
Queen,
Yeah.
Julia.
Yeah.
That was what it was going to be. It was Julia was going to become the Queen of Hell in Hellraiser 3, and then just Claire Higgins said, "No, I want to do something else with my career, and I want to go back."
Well,
but it was fun, guys. But yeah.
And in the Hellbound Heart, the female Cenobite was a little more of a lead than the pin-faced one. The jeweled pin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
Cenobite.
but even the pin Cenobite, though, was more androgynous, right? It wasn't specifically a man or a woman.
The voice of an excited girl.
Yeah.
There's another review that, Rob, you covered it, was Mr. Age on YouTube. He reviewed one of the scripts for a Hellraiser remake, and I think that one ended with Frank becoming Pinhead, which I thought was a really neat twist on the story. That would be like kind of an origin story for Pinhead, and then it would tell us what happens to Frank. Yeah. And I think that would be interesting. So I'm going to read this article. I didn't have time to read it. The bloody disgusting article by Brad Miska, and I'm interested in seeing what the review talks about this movie, because I unfortunately didn't have time to read it.
This is a story that actually we started, Rob, and Rob put this out, and then it got picked up by a ton of horror blogs. That the new version of the Cabal cut will be 3 hours, and if anyone's wondering where this information came from, it was the Cabal cut. The Cabal Cut Twitter account, and it's early days. That's all. Before people get super excited, we got people getting angry, we've got people getting excited, but before people get too crazy about it, it's still early days, and they're still negotiating, trying to figure out what what a European region Blu-ray of Nightbreed would include.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. We just have to wait for an actual announcement. And that French release looked like an announcement, but it was really like a mock-up.
Yeah, it was a mock-up. I think they kind of jumped the gun according from what we heard down the grapevine. But if you guys want to follow the Cabal Cut account on Twitter, they've been sharing some really cool screenshots of material that they're working on.
Yeah.
And some of it is pretty mind-blowing. Some of it is stuff that we never saw before, like Narcisse when he still had like a green skin, like scaly skin underneath his scalp instead of red. They have that was something they changed later in photography. Some Gabriella Martinelli, the producer, saw the image of Narcisse with the green scaly stuff. It's just like, why is this green? No, we got to make it red, make it like gory, And that's why the effects artist ended up, painting it red, which is why, little bit of trivia, in the actual poster for Nightbreed, the one that has a Boone and some of the Nightbreed behind him, if you look at Narcisse, he has no ears.
Huh.
And that was the original design for Narcisse, was going to be a reptilian creature underneath the scalp that was going to be green skin and no ears. And then they decided we got to change it, make it gory. So they painted it red and they added prosthetic ears to the side of the head. So there you go. I bet you guys never thought about that.
No, I didn't realize that at all.
Yeah.
I noticed that, but I didn't realize that's why.
The more you know.
One of the photos I really loved from the Cabal Cut Twitter account is of Peter Atkins as a psycho slut, one of the psycho sluts, which I'd never heard of. Is that in any of the Cabal Cuts that you guys have seen, or is this totally new?
So there's an article on Revelations, clivebarker.info, that talks about that. They had even behind-the-scenes video on the Revelations website where they show it was Peter Atkins, John Skip, and what was the other guy? I forgot his name. John Skip and another guy who used to be splatterpunk authors. They worked together in certain books. Phil Spector. No, not Phil Spector.
Yeah.
Is it Phil Spector? I think so.
Yeah, so you're right, because Peter was said his name the other day on Twitter. Okay.
So, and those three, so of course, Peter Atkins did some second unit photography in Nightbreed. He, eventually he was actually going to write the script and everything. And Peter Atkins wrote the script for a couple of Hellraisers, maybe more than a couple. So, and Craig Spector and John Skip.
Oh,
sorry, Phil Spector is the music producer. I got to correct myself there. And so they actually were friends of Clive, and they're in the movie in several scenes. They were in the Johnny Get Angry when Laurie's singing. They were supposed to be in the audience there. They were two of the dead rodeo. When Boone goes into a room and he sees everybody dead and there's a card castle, a house of cards made, and then two of the people lying dead on the table are those two writers as well. And apparently they were also a couple of Nightbreed in there somewhere, and they were also the Cycle Slut sisters.
That's really
so.
Cool.
It was basically, if you came to the set that day and you were a friend of Clive, they would just send you to the FX trailer and they would just dress you up as a breed and put you in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how, you guys want to be in the movie? Yeah, all right, go see Jeff Portis and Bob Keane and they'll paint you up and put you in the scene somewhere. So that's how a lot of stuff happened. And so, there's an article on Revelations about that, and I will put that link in the show notes. And you can watch some of that and recollections by Peter Atkins and those writers as well.
Peter Atkins is the one that actually came up with the name. I saw that on Twitter too. So,
oh really?
That was cool. The trivia.
Yeah, not sure what that means. Cycle Slut Sisters, but they're supposed to be, bearded, heavily made up Nightbreed with lots of pasted makeup on their face, and I think one of them had a death scene with one of the Sons of the Free, and then that ended up being cut out of the movie.
Yeah, and the and then so Nicholas Vince, who was also in Nightbreed, he's got a movie that you can pre-order now called Book of Monsters. And this looks interesting. I remember him talking about this a while back when it was in production. Isn't there some kind of a thing with it, like it sort of a choose your own adventure sort of a vibe to that movie? Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I remember something about that. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I remember that it was in production for a while, and the trailer came out recently, right? So now it's available for order through Epic Pictures. It's coming out March 19.
Yeah. So check it out. I'm interested to see how that comes out. I like monsters and I like books.
It seems to rely. What I like is it seems to rely a lot more on practical effects instead of using CGI. I just watched the official trailer, but there's a more graphic red band trailer if anybody's interested. I should have put that in the report. I forgot.
And I think that was also Kickstarter funded, right? It was crowdfunded originally. Yeah. And so it says here, the synopsis is that Sophie's 18th birthday becomes a bloodbath when monsters descend upon her house and start to devour the party guests. Sophie and her friends must rally together to send the party crashers back from hell.
I think that's what the choose your own adventure thing was. It was for Kickstarter backers. They could decide how like people died and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
That's probably right. We'll have to look into the Kickstarter and revisit that and see what that said. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be cool. And then speaking also of Hellraiser, there's going to be a Hellraiser cast reunion at Motor City Nightmares. And when is that?
April 26th through the 28th.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's becoming a thing now in conventions that. You know, you get to be able to take pictures with all your favorite Cenobite actors, and that's really cool. I mean, I love seeing, fans get a chance to talk to these people and then these actors and stay abreast of all the projects they're doing, like Nicholas Vince and Simon Bamford and the Dark Ditties, and Barbie Wilde is still putting out new stories as an author, and it's amazing. And you guys have to listen to the Venus Complex audiobook that adapts. The Barbie Wilde's book, The Venus Complex, and it's read by Doug Bradley.
Yeah, right. We need to talk about that on the podcast still. We need to, need to listen to it and go through that one.
So I don't know if there's still any tickets available, but you guys better rush if you want to get it. It's going to be at the Sheraton Detroit Novi Hotel from April 26th to the 28th for the Motor City Nightmares Convention. So if you guys want to take that photo op, you guys better rush to get that.
So as we're recording this, we are still working frantically to get the Duels of Blood website up, but through the magic of editing, by the time you hear this, it should be up and ready to vote. So the Duels of Blood Volume 4 is all Nightbreed characters, so all like actual breed, not people. So there's no Sons of the Free or anything like that in there. So as you go through duelsofblood.com, the very first group, you've got Sathan versus Shuna Sassy, and we're probably going to have to try to remind people of who some of these are.
Yeah, I don't know who Sathan is.
That's Maximilian Bloody Bones' mother. Remember, she got her tongue cut, and then she fell over and died.
Right. It's that comic book story where in the original Nightbreed comics, right, where they have to save this baby Nightbreed baby gets abducted on the day of his baptism, I think.
Yeah. And so they're buying diapers for him in the store, and then these cultists they cut Sathan's tongue, and she bleeds to death and dies, I guess.
Jeez, that's violent. And then the second battle is Narcisse versus Peliquin, and according to Ryan, this is totally random, right?
Yes, I would never have put those two together because I don't want one of them to get eliminated right away.
Yeah, they're buddies, right? They're a team.
Yeah.
And then we have Dagon from the comics. He was the big crabby-looking Nightbreed versus Freak, who was that guy with the stretched-out face in Nightbreed Chronicles.
Yeah, I think I'll be voting for Dagon.
Yeah.
And then we have Yilly Cat versus Tater. So Yilly Cat she's the one with the hand on her face, I think.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Or yeah, and then Tater is the little girl who's friends with Nick Naven, and her face erupts into these huge tentacles that will eat people.
Yili Cat is that guy that's got this skin that changes color. And he's got that sky blue on it. It's on the Nightbreed Chronicles.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we got Paracelsus, who's also from the original Marvel Comics, versus Kinski.
Yeah.
We have everybody's favorite Nightbreed, Mexico, the guy who doesn't speak.
Yeah.
And he's got these tiny little hands coming out of his neck, and that's what he used to communicate with other people.
Versus the
from the
Thrall.
Who's basically the drug pusher of the Nightbreed.
Yeah, and you see him wandering across the dream of what happened in the past. Decker resurrected. So since these are only Nightbreed characters, I kind of consider Decker to be Nightbreed once he gets the blood of Baphomet kind of pushed into his
that's fair.
wound.
Okay, so we're having two Deckers, one.
No,
or just the resurrected, the resurrected.
Just that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Versus
Got
Fachan, which is like he's that little eyeball guy. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, from the first few issues of Nightbreed, right? He
Yeah.
was one of those 5 that just go around killing people. Yeah.
Yes. And then we have two from the Nightbreed Chronicles, Anastasia versus Lizzie B. And I don't know much about those two.
Yeah, I know Anastasia was the woman who got the skin graft, and then the skin graft starts turning into a face.
Oh yeah.
On her face. Yeah. So and Lizzie B is that dancer that has that face coming out of her chin.
Oh. So they're kind of similar.
She was in the Cabal cut.
Oh yeah, right. And we have Otis and Clay versus Giblin and Viali. And I know who Otis and Clay are, but I can't think of who Giblin and Viali are.
Again, was this random? Completely random? Because you got two dual nature Nightbreed fighting each other.
It was I totally put them into a randomizer.
That's funny. And then we got Papolotti versus Toledo. Toledo is the werewolf that we barely see in the Nightbreed film. He was Babette's dad. He was a werewolf.
Yep, and then in the next one we have Babette versus Kolka Three Flies.
Yeah, Kolka Three Flies. I think that's a great makeup design. She is that bumpy-looking green Nightbreed in the Nightbreed Chronicles that refuses to take a bath because she hugged the last of her tribe years ago, and then she doesn't want their skin flakes to disappear. She thinks that once she dies, she may give birth to her tribe again. So that's a cool story there.
Yeah.
Mulciber versus Nick Naven. So Mulciber he's the one with the bird face, right? And then Nick Naven is the witch, the hag.
Yeah. From the comics, yeah. And then we got finally Cabal makes an appearance on Group 13. He's going to be going up against Scorch, who's also in the movie.
Yeah, not a very fair matchup.
He's the body painted cone head that you see in the movie.
Yep.
And you got Vesti Moses
versus Axed, and Axed is the bison looking guy that gets killed by the Cenobites in the night
Jihad.
In Jihad, yeah. He gets hit on the head with a hammer.
Oh, okay. Aiello is the one of those mean 5 Nightbreed that was going around killing people in the comimics. She was friends with Mulciber and the other guy, Dagon.
She's kind of the harpy looking one that she gets killed and
Nick Naven takes her body.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Spider Baby was in that group, but he said something they didn't like and they threw him out the window and ran him over.
Oh yeah. Right. Then you got Lylesburg, the boss, versus Kushner Day. He's the drummer, right?
Yeah.
The guy with the orc-like teeth coming out of this bottom lip.
Yeah.
The Mezek Mole is the giant creature that you see in the Cabal cut being ridden by this leopard-looking lady.
Woman.
Yeah. That thing's awesome.
Yeah.
Versus Tezcatlipoca, which is one of the South American god Nightbreed from the
Oh,
comics.
right, from that story. Yeah, he's the guy who goes up against Isa Polotti.
Yeah.
Is Papalotti. Yeah. I remember that story. Yeah. It's from the comics, the Marvel comics from the 90s. And then you got Ghost versus Gallows.
Yeah.
Ghost is, of course, the white berserker.
And Gallows is the woman who does the hand of glory, and I forget what does that do? I can't remember.
It opens locks,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
That's usually what the Hand of Glory does. Then you got May versus Piglet. Piglet is the other guy that hangs around with Mulciber and Aelo and Dagon. You got the Fabaloo family. I'm not sure who they are. I think, is this the family that ages backwards? Like the dad is the kid and then the kids are the older ones. And they are going to go up against Targul, which again, I have no idea who this guy is.
Targul is a berserker from the comics. He's the one that killed Peloquin's mate.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and so Peloquin had to go, hunt him down and kill him. He was the only berserker that was still alive after Jihad.
Then we got Leroy Gom from his illustrious family of circus performers in his Juggling Eels act. He's going up against Radinka from the Nightbreed Chronicles, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She's a female breed. I forgot exactly what she has. Then you have Mater Q. She's the lady who told the future and lived in a cave for so long that her face turned into like a bat face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Versus Ozymandias. He was an Egyptian Nightbreed that went up against Baphomet, right? He wanted to become a god and take Baphomet's place.
Oh, right. So group 23 of 32 is one of my favorite Nightbreed. It's Chocolat. She's the scaly-looking lady who gave birth to 3 big babies out of 3 eggs.
Yeah.
She's in the Nightbreed Chronicles.
And in the Boom comics.
Right. And actually in the movie, too, you see her.
And she goes up against Lori. This is Lori from the comics, who became a Nightbreed and could play a guitar and make the dead come back to life.
That's kind of a silly power.
Yeah.
Then you got Saul, the one-eyed Nightbreed that's usually in the Tabernacle.
Yeah.
And he's going to go up against Beloy Moto. I have to say his name properly, otherwise he's going to kill me. He's that big Nightbreed that actually just shows up walking in these long legs, and he just says like, "Oh!"
That's right.
When Laurie's going,
Yeah.
when Laurie's walking through Midian, he just comes out of a corner and kind of bellows at her. Then you've got Onaka, good old Simon Bamford versus Ashbury.
I bet I know somebody who's going to vote for him.
Oh yeah, Laurie from Simon Bamford fans. She already posted an image flexing her finger, ready to click that button to make Onaka win. So good luck with that, Simon Bamford and Laurie. I'm sure you guys are going to go up against a kind of a weak character, Ashbury. I mean, not
Hallelujah.
the most sympathetic. According to Andrew Furtado, who was the editor of the director's cut, he's a very vertical actor. He always looks up and down when he's saying his lines. And then we got Bloody Bones versus Maximilian Bloody Bones.
Yep,
so you want to explain
weird,
this?
random pairing, yeah. So Bloody Bones is he looks like Silly Putty. He's like a little pink blob. And Maximilian Bloody Bones is his son, and Sathan was the mother. And he looks like a normal human baby, so we don't know what his powers are going to be.
So this is going to end in either patricide or
well, this is
I don't know what the other thing is.
They aren't necessarily fighting each other to the death. We're just
right. It's
just voting.
This bracket is going to be whoever wins this is going to transit into the second stage.
Yeah.
So then we got 27 out of 32.
Yeah.
Ethnici versus Ethnici and Ethnicus versus Slaughter, who's a berserker, right?
Yeah, and they are they're the talking lizards in Jihad, and they're talking to their owner, and they're like, hey, now that if you're gonna make $1 million, parading us around, we want part of the money, and then the Cenobites come and kill everybody.
Oh, So they could always hold out and just do like the frog that sings, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling."
Right.
It's like two little lizards that could
Yeah.
speak. I mean, that's
Yeah.
funny. We got Oral versus Guido on
Yeah.
Group 28. So Oral is that guy who could stick anything in his gums to make teeth
Yeah.
out of. He could stretch his mouth and he could get a really big Mick Jagger smile.
But don't discount Guido because he can take his spine out and turn it into a fan belt.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. That was like the craziest thing ever. Yeah. He uses his spinal column as a transmission belt, in Jihad, I think.
Yeah, and he also uses it as a weapon to whip people with.
Yeah. I'm uncertain how he manages to stand up without a column. Then we got Rachel, the ghostly Rachel versus the daughter of Rawhead.
Yeah. And
So that's again from the comics.
the daughter of Rawhead appears at the very end of the Rawhead Rex crossover series, but she never, they never bring her up again in the comics, which was too bad. I thought.
Uh-oh. We got a repeat here on match number 30. We have the Weaver versus Lizzie B, which we already have up there.
We could
have
change.
to change that.
We could change her to Lizzie A. Russell said there really was a Lizzie A, but we don't have any pictures of her or anything.
Oh, interesting. So we'll update that for the website, and you guys will figure out who the mystery character is going to be.
Yeah.
Then we have Pessoa the Pale. He's that guy who looks like a mime, basically, and he's got one of his eyes is in a second mouth.
Oh yeah, versus Lude.
Yeah, Lude, the black demon-looking horned Nightbreed.
Yeah, what a mess.
Yeah.
And
what's the last one?
Baphomet versus Ignatius. So we all know who Baphomet is, and Ignatius is like a were-rat that was trying really hard not to eat people, but he would like eat a fingernail or then a finger and like sniff hair, and then eventually he just gave up and started killing people.
You really went deep to find that one, didn't you?
Well, it was
I have
hard.
no idea what you're talking about.
We had to come up with 64 characters.
And what is this one from? So we can find that picture for the.
Oh, he's from the Marvel comics.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and there's a big picture of him on the cover, so we should be.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
He looks
Well,
like
that's it.
Looks like a big fat guy.
64 breed. Who's gonna win? I'm Team Baphomet right now. It's like Baphomet is gonna wipe the floor with everybody.
Yeah.
So let's see how these brackets evolve. Who do you guys think is gonna win?
It's hard. I have a hard time to pick because I love so many of them, but I'm hoping Pelican. So that's my.
Either Pelican or Simon Bamford. I mean Onaka.
That's in my top three. If I had to pick, it's either Pelican, Onaka, or what was the other one? Kinski.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Good choices.
I'm voting Shuna Sassy just because no one said her yet. So.
Oh yeah. Well, she'll definitely beat Sathan.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So again, we'll be updating this throughout the next 5 episodes or something, right? This is like 5 rounds usually.
I think 6.
Or
six rounds.
6.
Yeah.
6 rounds. So yeah, that's gonna be cool. Let's see who wins this one. It's March Madness season, and so we got the new Duels of Blood Volume 4. And Ryan, when is the voting round going to start?
It's going to start at midnight Saturday night, so people are getting this episode on Sunday morning, so it will have already started.
Okay.
It's hard to figure out how the timing on this and recording 2 podcast episodes. But yeah, that's how the polls are programmed. So they're already on the website. They'll just appear at midnight.
Okay.
Alaska time. So like 11 p.m. for Pacific time.
Okay.
All right.
We'll share that link on our blog and our Facebook page when the stuff is up for voting.
Yeah, and we have to get rid of Lizzie B.
Yeah, we have to do that. I see you already changed it to Lizzie A. All right. On the site, We recorded recently episode 216. That was the commentary track for Dark Ditties Presents Finders Keepers, and it was fun because we had Gary Smart joined us. He was producer and writer of that episode. He's been with us on the podcast many times, and we also had Lori Markle Bichet from Simon Bamford Fans.
Yes.
So that was a fun commentary track for Finders Keepers. I know Lori already is working hard on her cosplay. She's got a suitcase and with a lock, and she made herself look like Wainwright, the character that Simon Bamford played.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Go check it out. It's Dark Ditties, definitely recommended from me.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the next one coming out.
The one Lori used the picture of like using a comb for a mustache.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's so good. Such a great idea. I think it's so funny and witty. It's really cool. Great idea.
And coming up next, we've got the Abarat episode with our guest, Peggy O'Leary, who is a teacher that she taught Abarat and worked with Clive Barker to help develop the curriculum. So that was really fun. We recorded that earlier, so that was a really fun episode. I'm looking forward to that one going out.
Yeah, and Marcus was with us as well, and it's always great to have you with us on the episode, Marcus, because you always bring such great insight, especially into the art of Clive Barker.
Oh, thank you.
And
so
you
much.
always find the best quotes.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's always such a pleasure to be on here with you guys. So thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah. Well, and thanks again, Rob, and this has been awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. And I'm really feeling that today because it's been like 4 hours that we've been talking now. You can find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com, where we have news, features, reviews, and links to all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and every other place you can find podcasts. Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial, podcast, and news blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.